anyone watch the movie Flubber? It's a sci-fi comedy from the 90s where an absent-minded professor, played by Robin Williams, discovers a substance that can make objects fly. He uses the substance on his car, and voila, he has a flying car. I remember watching this movie when I was 5 years old. I got completely obsessed with the idea of a flying car that I decided right then and there that I wanted to build one when I grew up. That's how I knew I wanted to become a scientist. Fast forward many years later, and I found myself at AUBG studying computer science. Going to university opened my eyes to the world. I joined the engineering club and built my first robot. My graduation project was a search and rescue autonomous drone. Those experiences felt like a step closer to building my dream flying car. Later, I went on to study artificial intelligence at the University of Amsterdam. And my first job out of university was researching technologies to build self-driving cars. Now, I know self-driving cars aren't quite flying cars, but I was still filled with dreams about what technology could do for our future. We all had high hopes for technology and AI, a future where we'd focus on the creative and enjoyable tasks while the robots took care of our tedious jobs. When I left university and entered the job market, I was hopeful we were heading toward that future. But what happened since then? Today, the most sophisticated artificial intelligence we have invented are visual generative AI and large language models. Visual generative AI can create stunning and realistic images, like this one here, for example, which won a fine art competition prize that was meant for humans. Large language models can answer questions, engage in conversations, and craft beautiful essays if prompted. They can even write a TED Talk, but trust me, not this one. Instead of teaching AI to handle the hard and tedious jobs, we seem to have taught it to take over our creative ones. So did we end up in a better place as a society? Unfortunately not. Instead, we ended up with a growing sense of fear and disillusionment. Now we constantly fear for our jobs, we worry about our mental health, we feel a growing loss of community. We rightfully feel that these AI models might actually make wrong decisions, unfair, biased decisions that affect our lives if misused. Lawmaking entities struggle with regulating AI. The EU AI Act came out in 2024, finally, after 5 years of countless debates in the European Parliament, while the US Senate has held numerous hearings about AI's threats and opportunities in the last couple of years. These sound like a lot of fears and worries, so let's break these down. I'm going to bring a lot of examples from AI, but a lot of what follows applies to technology in general. We're going through a massive wave of job displacement. Technology and AI have transformed the workforce, replacing jobs across industries. From self-checkout kiosks to customer service bots to autonomous delivery drones, machines and algorithms are creating efficiency, but they're leaving millions of people wondering if their jobs are next. We're not supporting these people in transitioning to more fulfilling and enjoyable jobs while the robots take theirs. Some countries have experimented with the concept of universal basic income, where every citizen gets a bare minimum income without having to work. According to the Stanford Basic Income Lab, there have been at least 160 universal basic income trials globally in countries like Finland, Kenya, Canada, and so on. When basic survival needs are met, us humans tend to get creative and find intrinsic motivation. A lot of us pursue our passions and give back to our communities. Most of these universal basic income trials have been successful, but no government has been brave enough yet to implement this on a large scale. Next, there's the problem of mental health. Technology has tethered us to screens. Social media has connected the world in unprecedented ways, but it has changed the way in which we connect with each other, not always for the better. Doom scrolling, notifications, constant information overload leave many of us feeling stressed and burnt out. The lives of others seem so perfect, very often to the cost of our own sense of self-worth. And with so much time spent on these platforms, we often neglect face-to-face interactions. We loved the idea of social media back when it came out, but now it feels quite exhausting, doesn't it? Another massive issue with technology is its environmental cost. Its production, disposal, and operation take a significant toll on the environment. Data centers that power the cloud consume an immense amount of energy. Did you know that a ChatGPT search prompt consumed 10 times more energy than a Google search prompt? The numbers are backed by the International Energy Agency. And this makes sense considering that a Google search will typically retrieve some document or website sitting in a database somewhere and show it to you, while a large language model will run some large computation on the fly and compute your answer every time you search something. Our climate certainly doesn't need additional stress right now, does it? Finally, there's a lack of transparency with how technology works. For a lot of complex fields like quantum computing or superconductor research, this is due to not only complex information, but also expensive tools sitting in a lab somewhere, only accessible by a few individuals. For AI, lack of transparency is inherent. Most AI algorithms nowadays are essentially black box compute machines. You can imagine how this becomes problematic when AI is increasingly used for things like law enforcement, hiring decisions, sentencing criminals, or like insurance risk assessment. A group of language scientists led by Emily M. Bender coined the term stochastic parrot to describe how these models actually repeat things without truly understanding it. This was published in the 2021 ACM Conference on Fairness, Transparency, and Accountability. Now we can analyze these models from the outside, but we need to know exactly what we're looking for. We need to prove that a model is being sexist or racist before dismissing it as unfair. This makes the job of a court of law really complicated when it comes to AI. And the list goes on. So why have these problems grown? Well, the root cause is that AI was never really optimized for our collective well-being in the first place. In our capitalistic system, profit is a powerful incentive. Research funds in AI, like in many other tech fields, come largely from private companies instead of public funds. These funds, understandably from this company's perspective, go towards projects that are likely to yield profit returns to them. However, profit motives of individual companies don't necessarily align with what's best for the world. So there's a gap. And this gap now remains to be addressed by individuals and governments. Individuals don't have so much power by themselves, and most governments surely don't work as efficiently as tech companies nowadays. To fix all of this, we need to refocus on making technology human-centered. Human-centered technology prioritizes the needs and well-beings of people. It watches its footprint on our planet and its impact in society. Human-centered technology is best achieved by design at conception. For-profit organizations can certainly build human-centered technology too. Think of all the space in our cities that goes to cars, for example, like this beautiful illustration shows. If a robotaxi company, self-driving robotaxi company, prices its services according to the cost of the parking spaces in the cities, and at the end of the day it goes and parks its cars outside of the city centers, it's practically making profit while also creating free spaces for pedestrians and parks. See how it is possible then for a for-profit organization to build human-centered technology too. But what about technologies that weren't so consciously designed with a human-centered approach? Are those all doomed? Well, they better not be, since that's most of our technologies nowadays. Those weren't so consciously designed. I'm here to tell you that not everything is lost. There's a lot we can do to fix these technologies to better serve people and the planet. First and foremost, we need to democratize technological progress. Democratizing means making sure the benefits of technology are spread equitably among members of society. One way to democratize is to promote open access to tools and education. And this needs to come with inclusive design too, so that these tools are not useful just in the hands of a few researchers. Our education systems need to keep up with technology and AI and update their programs constantly so that no one gets left behind. Another way to democratize is value redistribution. Technology and AI have generated immense value for society that actually has the potential to lift global living standards if redistributed. For redistributions, there's a few things we can do, but public-private partnerships are very crucial here. Governments typically set guardrails like legislation and taxation for tech companies, but there's more we can do. I think governments should incentivize tech companies to work on things that better serve people and the planet. They should share their fair share of profit with us, and they should choose to work on things that are actually good for us so that their profit models also align with societal good. As an individual, you should get informed about opportunities available to you. Governments often have subsidies and grants that are available for individuals who want to work on these things and participate in this evolution. Governments should fund green technologies and people and small businesses that are willing to work on these things. In fact, technology can be beautifully used for a lot of important problems like resource optimization, for instance, access to clean water, or where to place green spaces and parks in cities, or effective disaster response. We can use all of these things better if we redistribute our resources better. Another big set of solutions to make our technologies more human-centered is to build inclusive, fair, and transparent systems. We talked about the black box effect and how it's hard to identify discriminatory AI. Research and policy-making efforts are needed worldwide. Entities should be held accountable for how their algorithms work. The AI Act is a set of rules and legislations that came into the EU in 2024 that sets a global precedent about how we should regulate AI. We should set global standards of fairness, transparency, and inclusivity to coexist with the technologies that are slowly governing us. At the University of Oxford, a team led by Professor Sandra Wachter has developed a set of tools to identify and test AI algorithms for bias and unfairness practices. These tools are actually being used to inform public policy efforts worldwide. As an individual, you should engage with policymakers to advocate for change and make sure that AI is used responsibly in our communities. We're living in a climate crisis. We have no choice but to address technology's impact on it. This means designing energy-efficient tech, incentivizing and investing in green tech startups, transitioning data centers to renewable energy sources, making AI models more efficient, but also embracing circular economy practices. Do you remember when the EU mandated all device makers to switch their charging ports to USB-C? That alone is estimated to have saved us collectively 11,000 tons of e-waste annually. This is a terrific example of how one decisive, small, thoughtful action can make a huge change. As individuals, we should opt for energy-efficient devices, recycle all the electronics, and minimize e-waste. And surely some climate activism helps too. As global warming changes our cities and our ecosystems in irreversible ways, there's still so much left to do. Last but not least, we need to address mental health issues. When talking about mental health, often things like self-awareness and mindful use get brought up. But there's surely so much we can do to protect our vulnerable individuals. Digital literacy programs in schools can teach kids from a young age how to deal with technology in a healthy way. For adults and kids alike, mental health support and therapy should be available and free and incentivized by healthcare systems, not stigmatized. As individuals, we should engage in community and participate and create spaces where people can meet face-to-face and not just online. This can help us feel more connected and purposeful. Now that's a lot to think about. I hope many of you are now starting to think, well, what can I do about this? Whether one day you work in technology, or as a startup founder, as a policymaker in the government, or you simply want to educate your kids, or you're a school teacher, or you just want to uplift peers around you today, I hope you heard something that resonates with you. I hope you'll remember to educate, stay educated, be conscious about your choices, create things with diversity in mind, engage in community, and advocate for change. Now, I know this can be daunting when you're just about to graduate university and enter the job market. As we enter new environments at the start of our careers, we tend to be busy, learning how things work, and trying to get good at what we're doing. But remember, it's important to not just fit in and accept the status quo, because if we let things run the way they usually do, we don't quite improve them either. That's why it's so important for the younger generations to actually change things instead of trying too hard to fit into new environments. The future is within reach, but it doesn't just require systemic change. It requires that each of us hold on to our values. Technology reflects the intention and priorities of its creators. Ask yourself, what do you deeply care about? Whether it's justice or fairness or in the environment or caring for the vulnerable, hold on to those values. They will help you and they will guide you in finding your place in society and keep you making the right decisions. We need a strong force of humanity within us, one that surpasses the powerful incentive of profit and the dysfunction of our systems. As a child watching Flubber, I dreamt of flying cars making life more exciting. As an adult, working in technology, I have an even greater dream. A future where technology truly uplifts humanity. Humanity over profit. The journey won't be easy. It requires all of us to move together, with our human values leading the way. The question is, will we take the leap together